DIO vs Alucard. I was not particularly hyped with this episode, in any regard really, but let's see if I was able to get some enjoyment out of it anyway. After all, I do quite like Alucard, and I do like Part 1 Dio, but we have another episode to get through first, so let's get to that.
Hey, look, it's so lame! Okay, that's it, I'm gonna kill him.
This was my first introduction to JoJo's outside of memes, and the fact that I only started watching the series in 2021 and this episode came out in 2018, well, I think you can guess how that introduction went. Jotaro VS Kenshiro is definitely what I call quite the suboptimal episode. The analysis is kinda boring. It just didn't capture me, and given there was one character I loved and was excited to hear them talk about, and one character I didn't know beyond a name, appearance, and memes, who I was excited to learn things about, that should say something about how interesting this analysis is. I like one joke. This one.
You know how hot lava is? Up to 2,000. Yeah, really freaking hot, that's what.
And that's it. That's the extent of my joy. There were several JoJo memes that I didn't really find funny, nothing particularly interesting going on, just pretty boring. And unfortunately, being a Season 5 episode, it doesn't get to play amazing tracks from their home series, like Jotaro's theme, I don't know how to say that one, but I'm going to put it on screen, or Tough Boy. And the fight then, well, it kinda sucks. Credit where it's due, the sound design is fine, most of the animation itself looks really good, I fucking love these Kenshiro sprites, so there's a bit of a bias there, and they did remember to have Star Platinum be invisible until Kenshiro actually utilized the ability that allows him to see it, and I like the choice to have the fight take place in Egypt. It matches both Part 3 of JoJo's and Fist of the North Star's general wasteland aesthetic, and the death is really good, having Kenshiro look like he might have missed Jotaro with that attack, though I think they could have conveyed that a little bit better. Then with the reveal that he did touch Jotaro and the Fist of the North Star-esque exploding death. And that's it, that's all I got. Oh okay, well sometimes I like a few of the hand-drawn bits, those being some of the shots early on with Jotaro and Joseph, and the death. Aside from that, let's run down the list. The hand-drawn stuff otherwise looks really bad. Shots like Kenshiro staring at the JoJos and Jotaro pointing at Kenshiro are drawn off model and look ugly. And the Starfinger just looks awful and doesn't even have Jotaro shouting Starfinger. What the fuck? Kenshiro and Jotaro are both fairly out of character. Kenshiro instigates the fight for no reason at all, which is pretty antithetical to his nature, while Jotaro being a bit more abrasive I can sort of accept, but then the way he fights is just wrong. Not all of it is wrong, mind you, just standing there and letting Kenshiro get blocked by Star Platinum is fine, but he uses his time stop immediately, which doesn't feel right to me. Maybe this is how he fights in Part 6? I don't know, I'm not there yet, but in Part 4 he doesn't spam time stop even when he should, and doesn't use it immediately as to reveal his trick. Jotaro also goes for his heart thing, which he has never done in combat, has only ever busted out once to bring his grandfather back to life, and also for some reason doesn't succeed at. It's so weird, like apparently this is meant to be Muso Tensei phasing through the blow, but it sure doesn't look like that. Like Muso Tensei is often accompanied with an effect to identify that it's been activated, or the appearance of other characters, but instead it just looks like Jotaro reached for it and Kenshiro dodged it after time restarted with pure speed. You know, because Star Platinum was already intangible for this. It's just weird to me. Muso Tensei could have been used for an awesome moment where Kenshiro taps into the styles of other characters, doing the Chivalry of a Failed Knight thing where you see flashes of the characters he's using the styles of overlaid onto him as he fights Jotaro. You know, like the Fist of the North Star anime did it! You've also got a car and an entire pyramid to work with here for your fight, and you have neither character do anything beyond make a crater on the side of the pyramid. You could have easily had Jotaro look at the vehicle and decide to do something on Kenshiro with it. Maybe even the thing Dio did with the fucking road roller and point out the irony. Maybe have one of them get knocked into the pyramid and have them fight inside of it. Maybe Jotaro uses his intelligence to get Kenshiro's attacks to strike certain areas that cause the pyramid to collapse on him while Jotaro gets out. Maybe that could lead to a moment where Kenshiro just holds up the pyramid with brute force and, I don't know, does something with that. Nope, because that would have required creativity. Speaking of which, Kenshiro's after images. You did get creative with that, in that you did them completely wrong. They are not shadow clones, they're after images. They can act like this, sure, but the problem is that Star Platinum very clearly makes physical contact with them. I do not recall this ever being how they work. Then there's the fact that the fight itself is only a minute and a half long, which feels like another missed opportunity. And in all of that, you got none of Jotaro's iconic smarts and strategies pulled out in any way because while they had tools around them to think of something he could do, he just doesn't do anything. I know they say he somehow can't do anything super strategic against just a punch guy, but it's not my fault the animation decided to be as stupid as the conclusion. Two things being stupid doesn't make one of them not stupid, it just makes everything more stupid. And while there's one neat shot of Jotaro walking through Kenshiro's blast using Star Platinum as a shield, that's about the peak of the fight prior to the death. And also, the Hokuto Hyakuretsu Ken versus Stand Barrage, yeah, instead of knowing to do what 1 minute melee did and have it be the climactic finisher, instead it just happens randomly at the start of the fight. Kenshiro doesn't even lose his shirt for it. Or anywhere. Kenshiro never loses his fucking shirt. One of the most iconic elements of his character is the way his shirt explodes off of him when he gets pissed off, and it's just not here. It's not like you can have the same basic finisher along with that climactic moment. Just have that be what comes directly after Star Platinum tosses Jotaro. They have their clash, Star Platinum manages to come out on top, and he goes for a finisher, but Kenshiro explicitly activates Musou Tensei and avoids it. The whole episode is just a cavalcade of lost potential and benign failure. There's nothing to get me hyped, nothing that made me want to check out JoJo's, nothing that made me want to go reread Fist of the North Star, and nothing that made me feel like they really cared about the characters or matchup. No shirt exploding, no usage of strategy from Jotaro, wasted the main thing that gets people in the matchup for a pointless scene, and oh, did I mention Joseph is here? Joseph doesn't even need to be here, because you can't have him help Jotaro in the fight, meaning the only way for this fight to happen and remain in keeping with Death Battle's rules is to have Joseph be out of character and do nothing as his grandson gets brutally murdered. Literally all he does is spout memes, and I'm sure some people fucking love that, but I don't like Part 3 Joseph all that much for just being a meme machine with none of what made me fall in love with the character in Part 2. He's just portrayed as a douchebag. It does nothing to help his grandson against someone who doesn't even need a stand to get toe-to-toe with Star Platinum. Something that they should reasonably be shocked at giving characters like that don't really exist in JoJo's from Part 3 to 6. So really, he only exists for unfunny JoJo memes that even if I wasn't already sick of, wouldn't have been all that funny. If there's a silver lining to this episode, it's that Bizarre Stars is a really good track. Even if we all know it should have been called Fist of the Joestar. 4 out of 10, not a fan.
Time, huh? Hell can do that too!
Now let's talk about DIO vs Alucard. This episode is an interesting one. Starting with the analyses, they're really good. Alucard's in particular, but I love both of these. DIO's only shortcoming is that it has that random bread meme, which I feel like without context just comes off as random and quirky to those who don't know JoJo memes. And I think the joke about Boomstick Stand drags on a bit long, even if it is the epic Boomstick Vors Whiz moment. Alucard's doesn't really have any issues to me though. Both are very well paced, discussing the story, versatility, characters, and plot in a way that flows naturally from one to the next. I especially like how Alucard's abilities are talked about leading into them bringing up how they need to be sealed behind restrictions, and DIO's Part 1 abilities being talked about leading to how he lost in Part 1, then leading to his Part 3 abilities when he came back. It's that kind of pacing that I love most in Death Battle episodes. Good stuff. Though I genuinely did not expect him to go with the town level meteor punches or full 1000 times the speed of light silver chariot. I also didn't expect Alucard's telekinesis to not even get a ton of TNT, or for Rip Van Winkle's bullets to reach 1000 times the speed of sound instead of barely hitting 30. But that's just me being surprised, not really detracting or adding anything to my enjoyment. I just like the way the analysis flowed, and I like most of the jokes. Special note to Boomstick's Dio died like a bitch line in the entire ending of Alucard's analysis. Hell, Alucard's analysis starts with a quote from Bram Stoker's Dracula, ends with a paraphrase from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, and finishes on a quote from Helsing itself. It's just really well written, and I enjoyed every minute of it, except the minute dedicated to Boomstick 4. Also, yes, I did in fact notice a time hard joke, and I have no comment. Let's talk about the animation though. Let's start with my list of major problems.
It's nothing!
Yeah, this animation was fucking awesome. Not to say it's perfect, but it gets damn close. As an example of imperfection, the first few seconds aren't too great. Alucard reuses animation from the DBX between the two. I don't like how the 3D car looks, the 180 rule gets broken, I don't like the delivery of Alucard's line. You think it's meant to be like, funny, I was just thinking about having mine. But it comes off more as, oh, that's funny, I was gonna have mine too, wanna join? But things do get good once the battle actually starts. It does a lot of little things well, like having Alucard very explicitly not dodging attacks at any point in the battle, having Dio take his knives from the knife ink store in the background while time is frozen, the fact that Alucard is almost permanently animated with a big smile on his face, and it also does big things well, such as his usage of Dio's "It was me" line in an actually funny way, along with that itself leading into Alucard doing his own reference to dialogue from Helsing. This shot of Dio looking back in fear at level 1 Alucard is great. In fact, one thing this fight does extremely well is sell Alucard as this all-powerful eldritch abomination. After going level 1, you get this impression that Alucard is actually scaring the shit out of Dio. He's genuinely frightened, and that's a hell of a way to sell Alucard's terrifying nature. He ragdolls Dio most of the fight with Baskerville and telekinesis, overwhelms him with zombies, and generally holds the advantage for most of the battle. But to keep Dio in character, he's not scared shitless the entire time. He gets a bit intimidated by level 1, but manages to recover and drop a road roller on him, which, to be fair, is one of the few JoJo memes I was willing to accept in the fight, and it's great. Alucard goes level 0 and sends a wave of zombies, and Dio seems a little concerned, and we get this awesome shot of Dio and the world both fighting zombies simultaneously. I know they're familiars, but this is the zombie sprite, so fuck off. with Dio taking a good deal of damage and seeming genuinely concerned afterwards. Also, the lighting of the fight shifts from blue to red during this, which is a nice touch. This leads to the fucking awesome one Hellsinger bridge quote I was willing to accept with Alucard now as Dracula. And I just love how the shadow legs come out of Alucard's back and later form his wings and arms when he needs them. It's just great. And the wave of blood created from level 0 as well is just so well done. Both as it flows through London and as it climbs up the watchtower with the zombies hauntingly reaching out as it ascends the structure. Alucard really comes off as this horrifying demon throughout this, and I've said that before because it's true and it's great. There's a brief but awesome sword fight between the two using the hands of the clock, which is just inspired. And here's where we get what might just be my favorite part of the fight. Dio actually using his part 1 abilities, freezing Alucard's arms and breaking them with Alucard not giving a single shit and immediately going back on the offensive with a horde of zombies behind him, which leads to this awesome usage of the world shout and a time freeze with Dio's fucking amazing looking stinger eyes attacks that really sells the force behind it, with the time unfreeze causing everything to be reduced to explosions of blood that Alucard's heart still reforms from. We get the amazing Bird of Hermes shot leading to a scene that better captures Dio's intelligence than the similar shot from Jotaro vs Kenshiro did. Time stopping as they seem to be clashing and using that as an opportunity for the world to take out Alucard's heart from behind. You can assume that he knows to go for the heart by the fact that Al regenerated from nothing but his heart moments ago, though I don't really know why he knows Alucard's the Vampire King when he's never met him before. At least you'd assume given the rules of Death Battle. This leads to a great stand barrage and a fucking amazing cry. Additional to all that, the fight manages self-battle damage with characters who can regenerate from almost anything by having Al lose his hat and Dio lose his jacket. Just a fantastic animation. The progression, sound design, animation quality, choreography, and character animation for both of them is just breathtaking. My favourite moments are probably the world shout and the Hellsinger bridge quote. And yeah, there are flaws, but they're really minor. How minor? Well, Dio breaks the 180 rule here. This shot looks like it's lit completely differently from the rest, especially compared to the previous shot where they haven't moved from, meaning it should be the same lighting, but it's very clearly not. The road roller causes barely any physical damage to the area when it explodes. The blood from level 0 that's left on the ground when Dio is shown recovering from advantages in the next shot. The world is a beige color closer to the manga than the anime. When Dio says checkmate, Alucard is missing tons of shots with Dio even dodging. I dislike that Alucard turns into Dracula for one shot but then just goes back to being Alucard. Alucard is clearly meant to be sticking both guns into Dio's mouth, but you can't really see his left arm here. This bit isn't the same hand-drawn style as the rest of the shots, which leads me to believe it probably is just an edit of existing sprites from the game these Dio sprites come from, or a Mugen character. Also, hi, this is me. During editing, I noticed something that was bothering me about the shot that I didn't actually pick up until just now when I was actually looking through frame by frame to make sure I wasn't just seeing things. You can actually see that they did not change the background at all between Dio's shot when he's flying through the sky and the close-up, so because you can see the building in the background doesn't change size at all, so they did not zoom in on the background to like keep to like make it feel more fitting. Dio literally just teleports like a 3 meters to the left to appear closer to the camera. It's really bothersome, but it's like a couple frames where you can notice it really. Once Dio's in front of the building, I mean, I guess you can still see the clouds, but it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. I didn't really need to see Alucard with a Quagmire arm. The Joestar family tramp stamp isn't present on the sprite used after we can clearly see it on the hand-drawn bit, and I personally think the Muramura barrage should have gone on just a little bit longer. And those are my issues. They're all really minor, as you can see. Nothing to really get in the way of my enjoyment. There is one thing that does bother me though, and it is the voice acting. Now hold on, neither of them are bad. They're both amazing. There's just a few deliveries I don't like. Two, really. As I said, Alucard's first line sounds like it was just directed completely wrong. It comes off less like a threat and more like just a haha funny. And it also just sounds weird. It just really has that feeling of someone in a recording studio, while every other line sounds like it's coming from the characters. Alucard's chocolate your own is also not too great to me. With the build-up of Alucard's previous line, I expected some venom, some anger in his follow-up, but instead it sounds like he's bored. It's not like he even needed to raise his voice to sell the anger. It could have just been a case of tranquil fury. You know, because he is sort of letting out his loathing for vampires in this moment, but nah, he just sounds bored. It also doesn't help that his guns go from inside of Dio's mouth, very explicitly drawn with Dio biting it, to not in his mouth, very explicitly not actually shooting him. This shot lasts for like 2 seconds before it zooms out. It doesn't matter. On the other hand, literally every other delivery from Curtis Arnott is a level of quality I expect from him. Genuinely amazing. But even then, I still think the show stealer in terms of vocal performance was Tom Shulk's Dio. Holy crap, he sells everything so well. He sounds like the character, he inflects like the character. Everything from his screams of pain with throttle to his world shout to his Ree cry are all amazing. He even has a really good Muda Muda cry, especially because he pronounces it Muda instead of Muda, which is closer to the Japanese and I personally prefer it. though Mutter is easier to say in just a regular sentence. And I say this as someone whose favourite voice in English and Japanese JoJo's is Patrick Seitz's Dio. His Mudakrai is not one of the better elements of his performance, but they did also have Dio say useless like the English dub of Part 1, which I fucking love. Just everything about Tom's performance is breathtakingly good. And Jesus, everything about this episode is amazing. This and Goku Black vs Reverse Flash capture the same energy, no restrictions brought on by the budget, no limitation of personality, and those are two of the episodes I know were done out of love for the matchups. And of course, they turned out just amazing. Episodes that don't feel constrained at all and feel like the writers, animators, editors, and voice actors all got to put their all into a stunning piece of work. As two of my favourite sprite animations in Death Battle history. Which is better though? Well, truth be told, I couldn't make a call. I like both animations equally as some of the best, even though Goku Black vs Reverse Flash doesn't have as many issues and never has a bad line read as well as a much more intense death. Both are dripping with small details, fun choreography, amazing dialogue, fantastic voice acting, and oodles of passion. But I do prefer DIO vs Alucard as an episode. Why? It doesn't have Goku Black's analysis. Yeah, I didn't think that analysis would get in the way of my love of Goku Black vs Reverse Flash as much, but it is the turning point to me preferring DIO vs Alucard. Overall, a breathtaking episode, 9.5 out of 10. It would get that coveted 10 out of 10 to me if it weren't for those minor issues, and they are minor. If anyone is seriously going to be angry at me for those little things turning the score to below a 10, I have to ask, is it not impressive the episode is so good that an entire paragraph of issues that distract me at points wasn't able to drop the score by 1? I fucking love this episode. I had no expectations going in, was never hyped at any point. Aside from the track making me go, okay, this is long. I do like the track, by the way. But holy hell, did it deliver anything I could have wanted, and just, even as someone who doesn't like Part 3 Dio, this is just fantastic. It's a spectacular episode, and no, the fact that Alucard lost did not drop its quality to me. I do not care, it doesn't matter, and please watch the actual conclusion before you comment. I've already seen people say they didn't address the omnipresence of Schrödinger, despite them doing that very directly. Oh, also, the editing of the analyses is fucking amazing. Another high quality thing about the episode that I forgot to mention. Jesus Christ, is there no end to what it does right? Oh. Also, you can go watch Biff Weed's review. I didn't forget to mention it. Shut the fuck up. So Dio goes to the store.